Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. I am James and you are watching Blue Dog Aquatics. First and foremost, I want to say I hope you guys have a great holiday this next Monday on Christmas, and I hope that you guys get plenty of time with your friends and family. If you find yourself bored with your family and you just kind of want to tune out, well, make sure to check out lots of our videos. We throw out new videos each and every day, as well as shorts throughout the week. So thank you for your guys' support. Today we are talking about what is culling and why do we do it in the fish world. Now, we're going to talk about two different things. We're going to talk about probably the two most common things that are actually culled, and that are guppies and shrimp. Now, we'll start with shrimp here. So these are actually blue dream shrimp. Now, if you've ever bought shrimp and you notice the A or the S or the double S behind its name, that is the shrimp's grade. Now, shrimp are culled because we want to either make them darker to make them sapphires, or there are different levels of coloration. So obviously the lower the grade, the more inconsistent the colors of the shrimp are. So as shrimp breed, if there's no new lines or new dark dominant lines, so let's say we have a sapphire that breeds with a blue dream, we are going to focus on getting these sapphires because they're a darker, richer blue. Blue dreams, they are still an amazing grade, but through time, if you don't cull, then these guys will breed and breed and breed and inbreed and inline breed. And so what happens is eventually you get what are called wild types, or browns or blacks or inconsistent colors. Now, as those browns or those wild types breed with the blue dreams, it muddies up the genetic line. Now, if you're just out to let them do their thing in the tank, then more power to you. But eventually all your shrimp will end up brown through genetics. But what we do is, if we want to enhance the coloration to focus more on the dominant traits and the dominant lines, what we do is some people will actually pull the wild types and put them in a different tank and use them as what's called a cull tank. Or they will have multiple tanks, typically 2 to 3, to have the different grades of shrimp. Now, you may ask, well, what happens to the culls? Now, that depends on the person. Typically, what we do is we'll put them in a community tank, and if they survive, they survive. If they don't, well, they don't. And a lot of people will have predators or puffers that need that form of nutrients anyway, so they'll use them as a food source for their puffers. Now, let's go over to guppies. Guppies, there are so many different morphs and so many different color variations. And now you can go on eBay or online or whatever and find trios of high-end guppies. And what happens is, what they do is they typically give you 1 male and 2 females, a trio. You always want to have more females than males because the male will, well, be a male and run the females, but that's a different story for another time. But anyway, what happens is, if we have those 3 ones with the same bloodline, then they will produce, let's say we have snakeskins. We have the red flame snakeskin, and we have 3 of those. Then the babies that are produced, in typically a nursery setting like this one, will become red flame snakeskins. Now, through time, the guppies will, well, be guppies, and they'll have millions and millions of babies over time. And I'm exaggerating there. I mean, I guess if you let a tank go for a long time, it could. But eventually what happens is you get just normal, run-of-the-mill, basic guppies. Nothing special about them, no crazy characteristics of their color. And so, but if you're breeding to sell these, you want that genetic line. You want to prove the lineage of the guppy. And if you have guppies breeding with wild types or just standard guppies, then they're going to produce basic run-of-the-mill guppies. They're not going to produce high-end guppies. And so what we do is, as they have babies, we let them grow up a little bit until they start showing their color. You can see these little babies starting to show color there. And if they don't match up with what genetic code we want to go with or what color morph we want to go with, then we cull them. Now, again, there are multiple ways to cull a tank. A lot of times people will move guppies and throw them just into a pond to let them reproduce, and then they're just sold as assorted mutts. Or, once again, a lot of people will have predators. We have a Florida gar, so if we have guppies that don't make the cut, then they get fed to the gar, because guess what? The gar's still got to eat, and it eats live fish. Now, another form of culling doesn't have anything to do with genetics. Doesn't have to do with colors. Doesn't have to do with morphs. Doesn't have to do with any of that. It has simply to do with the overall health of the fish. Now, just like anything in this world, everything has the opportunity to be born with defects. Defects as in a broken back, a deformed swim bladder issue, missing pectoral fins, missing tails, just so many different deformities. Now we have to make the decision on whether or not their life is going to be impeded by this deformity. Now, if it has a broken back, obviously they're not going to survive. They're going to swim to the bottom and they're not going to move, and they're eventually going to pass away. So what we do in that fashion is we would cull those. And for, like I said, for us, we feed them to our gar or to our catfish. And we're doing that because it's the most humane thing to do. Think about in the wild. In the wild, the weakest do not survive. Only the strongest do. Same with shrimp, same with guppies, same with any other species. In the wild, if something is born with an issue, whether it's a squirrel, whether it's a donkey, whether it's a guppy, whether it doesn't matter what it is, they're not going to survive. They're going to be eaten by a predator. And guess what? Mommy and daddy, they're not going to care. They're going to focus on the ones that are going to survive and focus on, okay, let's keep the family good over here. That one, he's not going to make it. So sometimes culling is the humane thing to do. So yeah. Next time you're looking at your tank and you're wondering, do I need to cull? Well, think about these things. A, is it impeding the overall health of the animal? B, are you breeding and you're trying to enhance the best possible genetics possibly? Those are really the main two things that requires culling. Is if you're breeding, or is if there's a deformity with the fish itself. So I hope this clarifies up. If you guys have any more questions on what culling is, please let us know down in the comments, and we'll help you through it. You can also send us pictures if you have issues, whether or not, if it's something just as simple as genetic lines or morphs or anything like that, please let us know. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing, and I hope you guys have a great holiday, and we will see you guys next week.